Hey everybody, this is Ashia, and I'm back with, I guess, will be the second installment of my life with endometriosis. And, after viewing the first video, or whenever, you might be wondering why I am kind of taking the time to talk very openly and publicly about something that isn't always kind of looked at. It's a condition. It's something you have to deal with. It's not something people talk about. It's related to the reproductive area of a woman, and many people don't like to talk about women's parts. That's the most surefire way to get a man to stop asking questions and to kind of bend to your, just kind of leave you alone about something, is to say, I'm on my period, I'm on my cycle, I have cramps, or any various thing that relates to the woman reproductive area. It's a surefire way to kind of shut down conversation among men and women, unfortunately, sometimes. And so what I want to do is to put a face to kind of a condition that has been around for, I'm sure, for years. I recently had the thought about, how you would hear stories about women who were barren, couldn't have children, or for whatever reason you hear about, there's some famous woman you hear the story like, yeah, she couldn't have children, so she had a dog, things like that. And I feel like that some of those women could have possibly had endometriosis, but because it's a kind of a condition that is only fairly recently starting to be researched and kind of studied to determine, why it happens, how do you treat it, what kind of stops it from, what makes it worse, what makes it better, etc., etc. And it's kind of a recent addition to the world of medical research that people just had it and they suffered in silence. One of the kind of more well-known things that kind of signifies you could have endometriosis is that you have heavy bleeding, you have very bad cramps, and some women just take it. It's like, yeah, well, I just have really bad cramps. And it's like, yeah, but why would you have really, really bad cramps when you're not about to give birth? Let's question that. That's not okay. You shouldn't feel bad. You shouldn't be walking around feeling less than yourself and just accept it, and then you just pop pills the whole time because you're taking ibuprofen or Tylenol or Midol, and I knew some people that would take 2 800 milligram ibuprofen, the kind that you have to get from a doctor. They would take like that every, 4 to 5 hours during their cycle. And typically someone's cycle might last anywhere from 5 to 7 days, maybe 3 to 7 days. So at least for a week out of every month, you're taking thousands of milligrams of ibuprofen. That can't be healthy. That can't be right. And so I want to talk about it because I want us to be more open and feel more comfortable kind of talking about this and talking to our doctors. And I also want to really stress that endometriosis and things, not even just endometriosis, because I also, this is an open conversation about all things kind of interrelated. So that includes fibroids, that includes ovarian cysts, that also includes endometriosis, and any other type of issue that you may have. They haven't been proven or shown to be sexually transmitted diseases. You can't get them that way because they're not, it's not a bacteria, it's not a virus. It is kind of a hormonal thing or something that happens where your body produces, I think your body produces too much estrogen, but then again, I'm not 100% sure because it's very hard to get a very definitive kind of answer about this condition because no one really knows why. And now I will say that what endometriosis is that it is when the lining of your uterus somehow gets outside of your uterus and essentially becomes scar tissue that's just kind of floating around in your body. And that's bad because it doesn't belong there, and when there's something in your body that doesn't belong there, it can cause problems by kind of bumping up against other organs. It can disrupt other processes that are going on, and because it's from the lining of your uterus, oftentimes it'll shed, just like when your monthly menstrual cycle is, when your lining of your uterus is shedding. Imagine that happening, a piece of scar tissue that's floating around near your intestines and it's shedding on your, and then that's not right, and that can cause problems. And so but the kind of the bad part about endometriosis is that it's not something you can often see in an x-ray. You can't see it. The only way you can know that it's there is if you open someone up and if they have surgery, which is what I had because I had fibroid tumors. So I've had that. I also actually was having surgery because I had a cyst on my ovary, which is essentially a fibroid that attaches to your ovary. Now, these are all benign. They're not cancerous. So people kind of tend to say, whew, breathe a sigh of relief. It's not cancerous. But it's still problematic. It's still not, it's still an issue. And one of the reasons that prompted me to kind of start this video series, just one of the many reasons, was that I started to notice that some celebrities were speaking about endometriosis in very public forums. Tia Mowry, who is, who plays on The Game, she was talking about it, how it kind of made her conceiving because she's married and she and her husband decided to have a child, and it made that process a lot more difficult because she had endometriosis. Now, she was able to persevere at least on that level, and she has a son now, and everything was great in that end. But I kind of think that that could be doing it a disservice, because people think that the only problem that it causes problems with having children, and that is a problem. And a lot of women, that's a big problem, but it causes other issues too. Another person who I saw that was kind of speaking about it, Jane Kennedy. She's like this iconic black actress, performer. I want to say from the 70s, but I could be wrong. I'm not as familiar with her. She predates me a little bit. I have heard the name. When I saw her, I've seen her before, but I can't kind of give you her discography and kind of her resume of work. But she was on this show that comes on TV1 called Life After. And it's a show where they kind of spotlight, black people who are iconic in the black community, and they talk about their lives and their struggles. And that's another thing. My mom mentioned to me that she was speaking about having endometriosis, but she also has 6 children. So she was still able to have children, and so now she's speaking about it, but it's kind of after the fact. And what I want to do is speak about it during the fact. I want to speak about it as a single person who doesn't have children, who is not currently trying to have children, but I still have to deal with it, and we still have to, address it on a daily basis. And the only real thing that can kind of manage it that people know of is by taking birth control pills or some type of hormone-based contraceptive. And that's not always foolproof because, hormone-based contraceptives have side effects. And so it's really just something that I want to really encourage people. Let's start a dialogue. I'm speaking about my experience, but I want to hear about your experiences too. So please, post comments if you have a question about something that you'd like me to answer. I don't have all of the answers. I'm a great researcher, so I can definitely find out. I've had some personal experiences that I can speak to, but I also want to hear from you. Give me your video responses, give me your comments, give me your stories, tell me what you've kind of had to deal with things like endometriosis, fibroids, ovarian cysts. I want to start a dialogue so that we can increase awareness and get more research to be going about this condition, because as we all know, medical research takes years and years before things can really start to pan out and really kind of make conclusions, and they just started researching it. So there's plenty of time, but if we have more people, then it might speed things up and just kind of give us another option. So I really want to hear from you. I really look forward to hearing your video responses or your comments, your stories. If you have questions, please don't hesitate. Don't be ashamed. This is not it's not an STD, so you didn't do it by making decisions on that end. This isn't what causes it, but you need to learn how to take care of it. You shouldn't dismiss it. You shouldn't be in pain. That's not okay. So let's do this together. I want you to join me on this journey. And so I look forward to kind of reading and hearing from you, and I hope that you are getting something out of this and that it's helping you in some way, and also to let you know you're not alone. You're not the only one that has to deal with this. So that's it for me. I'm signing off for now. Please, Share your thoughts, your video responses, comments, stories, whatever you have. I would love to hear them.